Perek Yud Bet?
Yeah, in Perek Bet.
I'm sorry, Perek Bet. Okay, Perek Bet, so we did Halacha Yud Aleph.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do Halacha Yud Aleph. So let's do Halacha Yud Aleph again. So Perek Bet, Halacha Yod Aleph, Ilchot Shebu'ot. Sefer Hafla'ah. I just did everything backwards.
Amen. You guys want to share this from this big?
Now I just want to make a point about the water that I'm drinking. This is artesian water. See, this is not regular water, it's artesian. I think I'm pronouncing that right. What does that even mean?
It's from a well.
Is that what artesian means?
Yeah.
Artesian means from a well. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. I didn't know. Define, let me just do that. Define artesian. I was wondering what it means.
I'll look it up myself.
Define artesian. Let's see. Artesian water is from a well. From an artesian aquifer. Thank you. Okay, so I just want to lehe'azer b'talmidim. U'mitamiday yoter mikulam. So now I know what artesian water is. Okay, I hope the well was a clean well.
Right.
I just don't know about that, but it is artesian.
One would hope so.
One would hope so. Okay. So having done that, let's now. I'm going to read the first halacha, halacha Yud Aleph. The two of you are sharing, right? Where's the book that I gave you? The Rambam.
I switched to them because I had.
Oh, okay. Sure. No, okay. V'chen, im gamar. I'm sorry. Let's go to halacha Yod. Okay. מי שנתכוון לשבועה ורמה בלבו שלא יאכל היום או שלא ישתה ושדבר זה אסור עליו לשבוע. So in your mind you now intend to make a shebu'ah where you are going to declare that you're not going to eat or that you're not going to drink or that something is going to be forbidden. ולא עושים בשפתיו, but you never said it with your lips. How does it mutar? It means nothing. So in your mind you're thinking, right now you're thinking in your mind, I'm making a shebu'ah, that's it, I decided, this as a person or whoever's thinking, in the mind, I'm not eating today, it doesn't count. Because the Pasuk says, a shebu'ah has to be pronounced with one's lips. When is he who makes a shebu'ah liable for the shebu'ah that he made? Meaning liable in the sense that he's obligated to follow the words of the shebu'ah. And the answer is, if you pronounced it with your lips. Shalom Arida Lachayud Ale Bechen. Similarly, if in your mind you made a decision, whatever the decision is, you were not going to leave the house for the rest of the day, whatever, right? And you decided as a shebu'ah, and then when you came time to actually declare the shebu'ah, to declare with your mouth what you were thinking in your mind, you declared the wrong words, you made a mistake. You said, instead of saying today I will not leave the house, you said today I will not drink water. That is top. You can drink water and you can leave the house, right? There has to be an alignment between your thoughts and your words. Kesa. For example, a person was thinking he's angry at his friend. He has a friend called Reuven. He's angry at him and he's going to make a shebu'ah. His friend is holding a party and invited friends over for the meal. He wants to make a shebu'ah that he's not going to eat by the Reuven. And instead of saying, I'm not going to eat by the Reuven, he accidentally says he was angry. When people are angry, they say things that they don't always mean. There's sometimes a misalignment between the mind and the words. He says, I'm not going to eat by Shimon. Right? You can eat by both of them. Right, so you can eat by the Reuven because you didn't say anything, you never said with your lips that you're not going to eat by the Reuven. And you can also eat by Shimon, continue. And you could eat by Shimon because you never intended in your mind. So for a Shabbat to be effective, there has to be an alignment between the words and the thought. Or if I may, the golden doves and the silver dots, if I may use my father's terminology. Okay. Continue, Michael. Right, so also other Shebu'ot. Does that, because right now we're dealing with Shebu'ot Bitui, where you do something not do something, it's called Shebu'ot Bitui. Remember, there's 4 types of Shebu'ot: the Shebu'ot Bitui, Shebu'ot Shav, Shebu'ot Bikol, and Shebu'ot Aidim. So this particular rule that we study, it applies for the 4 types of Shebu'ot. Leficha, for example, right? Okay, so this is Shebu'ot Bitui. In his mind, with his mouth, he said, "I'm not eating for the rest of the day," and then he ends up eating. And then they said, "How can you eat? You just made a Shebu'ah that you're not going to eat." They're shocked, right? And he says, "Well, I didn't want to make a Shebu'ah that I'm not going to eat today. I wanted to make a Shebu'ah that I'm not going to leave the house today," right? And he says, I made a mistake. I don't know why. I said, I'm not going to eat today. That's not what I intended to say. That's not, yeah? No makut. So in order for him to get malkut, there has to be, first of all, for any malkut, you have to have edim. So the edim have to give him matarah. So 2 witnesses have to see that he's doing haram. And they warn him, you made a Shebu'ah. You made a Shebu'ah today, that you're not going to eat. And he has to tell the edim, well, no, actually, I wanted to make a Shebu'ah that I'm not going to leave the house. That was kind of a mistake. So then he wouldn't get malkut, right? Oh, wait. Right. Unless when the edim come, and he acknowledges to them, yes, it's true, I didn't make a Shabbat that I'm not going to eat. That's correct. Right? Or he said nothing. He accepted that. He said, yes, I heard what you have to say. And he continues eating. So then he would get malkut, right? Now, what's very important is, he said, always, my father told me in law, we always want to quantify and be precise. When is it that we make the determination whether his mental or his thought was not to eat? He just made a Shabbat, I'm not going to eat. How do we know what his thought was? And the answer is, it's what he says at the moment of Hatrah. That's when we make the determination. If at the moment of Hatrah he remains silent, I didn't come and say, you just said you're not going to eat. He said, yeah, I know. Yeah, I hear you. And he eats anyway. That's it. He can't later on say, no, please, no malkut. In my mind, I was thinking I'm not going to leave the house. It's too late. You told the Edim that you're not going to eat. You acknowledge it, or you remain silent when they give you Hatrah. That's the moment at which we make the determination. Because obviously how can we possibly know what a guy's thinking? We're not mind readers, right? We don't have that ability, right? So that's why it's so important that it depends how he reacts to the Hatra'ah. And based on how he reacts to the Hatra'ah, that's how we know what was in his mind, right?
Could the line Ad She'odeh B'nei Edim, could that imply that Hatra'ah is not necessary 100%? For example, let's say that Edim, they know he made the Shebu'ah, they saw him make the Shebu'ah, and now he's about to eat. In front of them, he says, remember before I made the Shebu'ah that I wasn't going to eat? Guess what? Now I'm eating.
Right.
Is that, because they don't give him Hatra'ah, but he is more dead than him. So I was just curious about the language there, if you think that could imply that.
You're saying they didn't give him Hatra'ah?
Right, so in that case,
that's an interesting question. That's an interesting question. That has to do more with the laws of Hilchot Edim. I don't know whether that's meaning. You're saying, is his hoda'ah considered Hatra'ah? I don't know. I don't recall that there is such a law, right? But just because I don't recall that there is such a law doesn't mean, but my memory doesn't bring me to the point where if a guy is doing Hilul Shabbat and the Edim come, that he says, yes, I know what I'm doing, leave me alone. Rather, what my memory says is that the Edim have to actually tell him, you're about to do Hilul Shabbat and you're Hayab Mitah. And then he says, yes, I know that. But what about if they tell him nothing and he says, I'm Hayab Mitah. So you're saying, is there a law that would, I don't know, in any of that? At least I don't remember that law. All right. Another possibility, there is another possibility. There's another possibility. They give him matra'ah. Okay? And when they give him matra'ah, they say, you know, you made a shebu'ah today that you're not going to eat. And when they give him the matra'ah, he says, no, I didn't make any shebu'ah today. That's just not true. And then later on, right? And you know, they're watching him eat. And later on, he admits it. He says, I just want to correct what I said. I actually did make a shebu'ah today. The only thing is the shebu'ah I made wasn't that I'm not going to eat. The shebu'ah I made was that I'm not going to leave. So in that case, again, I'm sorry, I lost the place. I misread it. I read the wrong thing. Right? Or when I made the shebu'ah, I know I made a shebu'ah that I'm not going to eat today, but I wanted to say is that if I don't get the job interview, I'm not going to eat today, but I ended up getting the job interview, so that's why I ate. It was a tenai. I just forgot to articulate the tenai. Again, we don't listen to him. He gets malkut. So it's the moment of hatra'ah. It's at the moment of hatra'ah that the person has the opportunity to say, look, there was a tenai. Look, I made shebu'ah A, not shebu'ah B. Later on, he can't offer a clarification. Later on, it doesn't matter. You understand? And therefore, he gets malkut. Havod al-chayot gimel.
כיוספו, אמרו לו, אשתך נדרה, ואמר, בי היה להפר לה, והפרתי, שומעים לו.
Okay, another thing. If a woman makes a shebu'ah, there's certain types of shebu'ah that a woman makes. Not all shebu'ah, but certain types of shebu'ah that if a woman makes, her husband has the right to do hafara. That's called hafara. Right? There's hatarat nedarim, which will say the betin can make hatarat nedarim. But there's hafarat nedarim, or hafarat neder, let's call it. So let's say they tell him, you know, your wife made a shebu'ah, and apparently she violated the shebu'ah. He can say, I intended in my mind to make hafarat nedarim, or hafarat shebu'ot, or hafarat shebu'ah, and I did the hafarah. I did. In my mind, I intended to make the hafarah, and I articulated the hafarah with my mouth, right? In my mind, I wanted to do hafarah, and he says, and I did do hafarah. Then the hafarah is the hafarah, and we don't punish the woman. So let's say the woman made a shebu'ah, I'm not going to put on any makeup for the next 30 days. No more makeup. And she goes and she puts on makeup, and the two edim say, what are you doing? You made a shebu'ah, you're not going to put on makeup. And you're putting on makeup. So now according to halacha, she would be getting malkut. Because she was violating her shebu'ah. It was edim that gave her hatarah. So you know you get malkut if they give her the proper hatarah. Now the husband comes and says, don't give her malkut. I made hafarah. I intended to make hafarah, and I articulated the hafarah verbally. We don't give her malkut, right? Yeah.
אמרו לו נדר, והוא אומר, לא נדרה, וכיוון שראה אותם, העידו עליו, אמר, בלבי היה להפר, אין שומעים לו.
Right, but on the other hand, these two edim come and say, you know, we saw your wife putting on makeup, and she made a neder and not to put on makeup. And she says, no, she didn't make a neder not to put on makeup. Notice he didn't say, I made a farah. He said she didn't make a neder not to put on makeup. And then they say, well, we were there when she made the neder. We know for a fact that she did make a neder. He says, no, I made a farah. I made a farah nedarim. Now this one, that farah is lying. We don't accept that. He's just saying it because he doesn't want his wife to get malkut, right? And shom'in lo, so it's irrelevant. Okay?
How do we parse that? וכיוון שראה אותם העידו Do you have that word?
וכיוון שראה אותם העידו עליו, once he sees that they're not just coming, when they say nadara, that you made a neder, they're willing to come to Bedim and actually offer testimony. So now they're actual idim, right?
Or wouldn't it be me'idim?
וכיוון שראה אותם העידו עליו. Okay, I did right. The syntax is interesting. I accept it. וכיוון שראה אותם העידו עליו. Once he sees them, me'idim alav, but it's not really me'idim alav, ha'idu about, right, because it's not about him, it's about her. Maybe that's why it's ha'idu and not me'idim. I don't know. It's an interesting question, right? Nevertheless, Amar ben Levi, right, so we don't accept it. Chavod, Shalom.
אמר בליבו שלא לאכול פת חיטים, ונשבע שלא יאכל פת חיטה. אסור בפת חיטים, אספת חיטים, פת שמא.
Right, that's an interesting question. So a lot of the laws of Medarim and Shebu'ot have to do with linguistics. I used to enjoy discussing this with my father, Alav Shalom. So for example, if a person set in his mind says, I'm not going to have any more wheat bread, right? This is bread made from oats. Well, actually, that's not even bread, actually. Barley, right, exactly. Or spelt, or rye. Anyway, so I'm not going to have wheat bread. And then he makes it, when he articulates it, the articulation is, I'm not going to eat bread. Nishba shelo l'chol pat. That counts. There's no misalignment, because regular bread is wheat bread, right? That's the usage, the common usage. When you say pat, you mean pat pitim. So that's it. Chavod, Mike. Shelo ochal hayom. Right, so a person made a Shebu'ah and says, today, I'm not eating. And there's people, he makes the Shebu'ah in the presence of people, and he says, I'm making the Shebu'ah as you understand the words. When I say, Shelo ochal hayom, however you understand, how do you understand Shelo ochal hayom? We understand you're going to be fasting today. Okay, well that's, exactly. Alright, so he can say later on, En ze achol lomar, so now he can't say, when I made the Shebu'ah that I'm not going to eat today, I meant to say I want to make a Shebu'ah, I'm not going to leave the house today. You can, this idea of there being a misalignment between your mind and your words is valid when it's your mind and your words that count. But when a person makes the Shebu'ah, he can make the Shebu'ah without betim, right? How the betim would understand the words, right? Or he can make the Shebu'ah al da'atechem, as you would understand the words. Like that, there's no room for ambiguity. That's why he does it like that. He wants to make sure the Shebu'ah is binding. So that making the Shebu'ah al da'atechem, as you understand it. So you can't then say, oh, but I meant to say I'm not going to leave the house today. Well, you said I'm not going to eat today, and we understand I'm not going to eat today to mean you're going to fast, right? Yeah. Because when he made the Shebu'ah, al da'at, so his intent becomes sort of irrelevant. Right, and once he makes a Shebu'ah with his mouth, and there's an alignment between what he's saying and what they're thinking, that's it. It's the end of the story, right? And it can be like this. So, for example, Shebu'ot Dayanim or Shebu'ot Pikadon, any Shebu'ah, the Bedim can tell the guy when you make it. I just want to see if I can write the AC because I don't know why it feels like it's. So see if you can close that door. Maybe that'll work. makes a Shebu'ah, and in his mind he's thinking one thing. Did you borrow money from that person? Did you pay back the loan? Yes, I paid back the loan. In his mind, when he's thinking he paid back the loan, he thinks something else. He thinks, like this will fool the Dayanim, right? Or I gave back the money. So, like this is going to fool the Dayanim. He's thinking about something else. So now there's a misalignment between his mind and his words. So the Dayanim, they tell the God before he makes the Shebu'ah, we don't want you to make the Shebu'ah al-da'at tzmicha. We want you to make the Shebu'ah al-da'atenu. According to the way we understand the words, you pay back the money. So you can't play a game like that, right? Yeah. There's a famous story in the Gemara about that. You know the story in the Gemara? Shlomo? Yeah, there's a famous story in the Gemara. There was an old man. He was accused by an individual of having borrowed money from him and not having paid back the money. Let's say it was 5 golden coins. I don't remember the exact amount, but whatever the amount, it was 5 golden coins. So the guy said, I paid you back. He says, you never paid me back. So I'm taking you to Bet Din. So I went to Bet Din. He was an old man. The guy who owed the money was accused of not being, he was an old man chazit. And he walks into the Bet Din, he's holding a cane, and he's walking slowly, and he comes before the Dayan. And the Dayan asks him, did you give him back the money? He says he says that you owe him 5 golden coins. Did you give him the money? And the old man says, yes, I did. He says, so I want you to make a Shebu'ah. I want you to make a Shebu'ah that you gave him back the money. So now when they used to make a Shebu'ah, they used to take out the Sefer Torah, and the Shebu'ah was done on the Sefer Torah. So you have to hold the Sefer Torah to make the Shebu'ah. So the old man, he goes to the person to whom he owes the money. He says, do me a favor, I have to hold the Sefer Torah to make the Shebu'ah. Can you hold my cane for me? So he gives him the cane. And then he grabs the Sefer Torah, and he makes the Shebu'ah that I paid him back the money. I returned the money to him. That was the Shebu'ah. And the person to whom the money was owed was so angry, he couldn't believe that this old man would make a Shebu'ah sheker. He knew the truth. That he took the cane and he broke it. He says, how can you lie like that? And then when he broke the cane, the coins fell out of the cane. The 5 golden coins fell out. And when he made the Shebu'ah, he returned the money to him because he gave him the cane, and the cane had the money, right? So the Chachamim say that's why when you make a Shebu'ah in Bet Din, you have to make the Shebu'ah al-da'at Bet Din. Because the guy could be thinking one thing, I gave him back the money, he made the Shebu'ah, it's not a lie, right? Yeah. And he really returned him the money. So he says, no, we're not going to let you do that. You're going to have to make the Shebu'ah al-da'at Bet Din. You understand the idea? Right. That's a famous story also. My father brings it from Don Quixote. And he analyzes it in one of his articles. Anyway, I think it's called Don Quixote, Talmudist, and Mucho Mas. That story is analyzed also in that article. But it has to do with what we're reading now. Don Quixote. You ever read Don Quixote? What's it about?
I read that article.
You read that article? You remember the story?
I remember the story as a kid. Now as you mentioned it,
Okay, let's go. Let's continue. Don Quixote, Talmudist y mucho más. All right, where are we up to? Halakha Tedvav? No, Halakha Tedzayin. Whose turn? Chabad, I think, anyway.
לפיכך, כשמשביעים הדיינים את הנשבע, אומרים לו, לא על דעתך אנו משביעים אותך, אלא על דעתנו.
So you see the Dayanim, okay, he is bringing the Mamash law that I'm bringing to you was, I guess I preempted it. So when the Dayanim, they asked the guy to make a Shebu'ah, you're not making the Shebu'ah, you're making the Shebu'ah al-da'atenu, so don't think you can get away with anything here. You understand that point? How about Shlomo?
מי שנשבע והיה בפיו בלבו שסועים בשבועה ואחר שנתפסד שנאמר חטא
ואחר שנאסר. You read it correctly. ואחר שנאסר חזר בו. Right. So a person made a Shebu'ah and he articulated with his mouth what he was thinking in his mind. And then immediately, when he finished the Shebu'ah, he changed his mind. והוא,
והוא מיד בתוך כדי דיבור, והוא כדי שאומר תלמיד לרב שלום עלייך.
Shalom Alecha Rabbi.
שלום עליך רבי.
Right, and he said it immediately. Like Tov Kedei Dibur means within the time that it takes to say Shalom Alecha Rabbi, whatever the time is. So Shalom Alecha Rabbi. So within that time, he said, no, I'm not making the Shebu'ah. I changed my mind, right? Ve'amar.
ואמר אין בו שבוע.
No, it's on a Shebu'ah.
או מה שאסור הרי זה מותר.
Or no, whatever I prohibited. Did you skip a line? Oni hamti, no?
או ניחמתי.
I changed my mind.
או חדלתי בי.
I reneged.
וכיוצא לגבי אלו. שעניינים
שעניינם
שעניינם
שהתיר מה שעשה.
מה שעשה.
Or anything of this nature. The bottom line is that immediately he retracted the Shebu'ah.
הרי זה מותר.
You can do that. That's loud. ונקרא Shebu'ah.
זה נקרא שבועה שזה דומה לתורה.
That's a mistake. He realized he made a mistake, and you're allowed to fix your mistake. This is very similar to the law of Ha'el Kadosh, Hamelech Kadosh, where you immediately remember that you're supposed to say Hamelech Kadosh. You said Ha'el Kadosh, but if within the time frame of Shalom Alecha you say Hamelech Kadosh, then you can fix it, right? All right, Chabod, Mike.
וכן אם אמרו לו אחרים, חזור לך, או מותר לך, וחזר בהם אלו, וקיבל להם בתוך כדי דיבור, ואמר הן, או חזרתי היא, וכדי בזה, הרי זה מותר.
Okay. Also, if somebody else was there, so what are you crazy? What are you making Shabbat? You don't make a Shabbat, right? So immediately he says, okay, no, Chazakli, you're right. And you're right. Correct. I'm not making a Shabbat. Right? Then yeah. So again, the person makes a Shabbat, he says, I'm never again visiting my mother. Once somebody came, we wanted Hatarat Nedarim, it was Erev Shabbat. He came to the Knis from Mincha. We used to do Mincha Gedolah, and I guess he had to visit his mother-in-law that Shabbat, and it seems that previously he made a Shebu'ah that he's never going to visit his mother-in-law ever again on Shabbat. And he was under a lot of pressure, he was sweating, and he came to me, he wanted me to make a Torah. So sometimes people make stupid Shebu'ah, if you catch him on immediately, he said, what are you, crazy? Retract the Shebu'ah immediately retract it, okay? That's one thing, he made the Shebu'ah before he came to me. He wanted to do Hatara, and I could tell he was under a lot of pressure. So I said, wanted to do the Shebu'ah, what happened? He was angry, and the guy was finally practically crying, because you have to do, there has to be Harata. I don't want to just give him Hatara just like that. But I saw there was real Harata, I was literally crying in Knis. So I brought two people, and I said, okay, we'll do Hatara for him, and warned him not to do it again. But yeah, sometimes people do say in a moment of anger, they say something, and if there's a friend there, the friend can say, what are you, crazy? Retract it. Say, okay, I retract it. That's fine. That works. Right. Continue. V'imachar kedei dibur, who was reading? Mike. V'imachar kedei dibur, then you can't be choser. Okay, Chabod, any.
נשבע וחזר בו בתוך כדי דיבור, ולבו אין זה כאילו...
But when you're choser toch kedei dibur, you have to articulate it. You can't just think in your mind, okay, then it is over. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to articulate it. The same with the Shebu'ah has to be articulated, and if you throw it in your mind, you have a Shebu'ah, it doesn't count. Also, the Hazara has to be articulated.
וכן, אם אמרו לו אחרים, חזור בך, או מותר לך, או מחול לך, וקבל בהם בלבו בתוך כדי דיבור, אין זה חילון, עד שיוצא החזרה בפיו, כמו שבועה.
And similarly, if other people tell him, are you crazy? Don't make the Shebu'ah. And in his mind, he says, they're right. I retract the Shebu'ah. It doesn't count. They're right, they're not right, but you're wrong. You can't retract the Shebu'ah. You have to articulate the retraction. All right? All right, let's do a few more halachot. We'll try to go for another 5 minutes on this. So Perek Gimel, Chavod Shelomo, we're Sefer Hafla'ah, Hilchot Shebu'ot, Perek Gimel, Chavod.
כל השבועה,
No,
כל
more.
השבועה מעבר למיני שבועות אלו, באונס זה פטור מפרו.
Anybody who makes a Shebu'ah be'ones under duress, and we'll see what that means, it's not an effective Shebu'ah, right?
ואחד הנשבע מתחילתו,
ואחד
הנשבע מתחילתו, באונס, כמו
Be'arvu. Now, it doesn't matter whether the beginning of the Shebu'ah was be'ones, meaning when you first made the Shebu'ah was initially made be'ones. 1 second. Right, and what does it mean? For example, an example of Shebu'ah be'ones, well, we're going to see a few examples, right? But he was referring here to the case where the person, let's say, somebody gave you money, and then they say, he said, yeah, give me the money you owe me. He's not owing you any money. So he goes to Betin, and he makes a Shebu'ah Pikadon. He has no money. He doesn't owe him money. That's Shebu'at Pikadon. But it was be'ones, he forgot. That's called ones. To forget is called ones also, right? So that would be, he would be patur. If he forgot, that's anus. Anus lahamana patre. Continue. Be'echad ha'nishba, or shenishba. Another type of onus is that they prevented him from fulfilling the Shebu'ah. So that's called onus. Let's say, for example, you said, I'm making a Shebu'ah that tomorrow I'm going to visit my teacher, my Rab. So he makes the Shebu'ah. And then there was some onus, I don't know, there was a flash flood on the way, and he physically couldn't pass the flash flood. That would be anus, right? Anas. Or a person, anas is a violent person, and he forced him to make a Shebu'ah. For example, the anas comes with a gun. He says, give me all the money you have. I want every penny. So he takes out his wallet. He says, here, every penny. He says, I want you to make, no, there has to be more money. He says, no, there's no more money. There's nothing more. He says, you make a Shebu'ah, so I know that you're telling the truth. So you make a Shebu'ah. Today they don't care. Today they're monkeys. The people committing the crimes they're not humanoids. They're actual animals. I mean, just think of how low humanity descended. That there used to be a time where the criminal who wants to kill the person, he said, no, make a Shebu'ah. The guy who's going to make a Shebu'ah, he's going to make a Shebu'ah that this, and the person holding the gun is not going to, harm him at that point. You realize the Shebu'ah. Today, they don't even Shebu'ah. I mean, today they're not humanoids. They're subhuman. They're creatures. I don't know what they are. Anyway, I saw this incredible video. It just shows you society has gone completely crazy. There was a video that people are eating on Sunday, like they're videotaping. I think they're like at McDonald's or I don't know, whatever, one of these places. Who knows? And they're behind the window. On the other outside of the window is the street, and there's a couple of thugs beating up a guy. And they're like, Mamash beating him up, like it's like that, animals, So the guy, and everybody's like kind of watching it. It's very entertaining, like the shows today are not as entertaining as they used to be, but they get to see this. So it's like for these people, it's a very spiritually uplifting experience to see somebody getting beaten up. It's very, again, if you're an ant, it's spiritually uplifting for an ant is not necessarily spiritually uplifting for a higher form of life, for high life. Anyway, so they're spiritually up. They're all kind of looking, I guess, eating their sandwiches. I don't know what they're doing in the place. And then suddenly the guy who's getting beaten up takes out a gun and he aims it at them. And people are literally, like, he has a gun! Yeah, one of their brothers might get shot. One of the brothers might get shot. Right? You understand? I mean, you understand that we live in a crazy society. But back then, no, you literally suddenly start hearing screaming like, he has a gun! And the other guys, they suddenly leave quietly, like, what I'm saying? Like a bunch of cowards. What was it? The Lion King, what was the hyenas, sort of like cowering in fear. You realize we live in the world has gone insane. I mean that I'm not a doctor, but I think of a clinical psychologist would evaluate most people are clinically insane. That's just the simple truth. So a guy getting beaten up and that's like just slurp on the Coca-Cola. But if he takes out a gun, we all heard on the news that guns kill people, right? The gun, it's a gun. Oh, they had a Disney. There's a Disney trailer to a new Disney movie. I don't watch Disney anymore. I mean, they're a bunch of pedophiles. I don't know what they are. Anyway, I don't watch Disney movies anymore. They're perverts. But anyway, so they had a Disney trailer, and they had a gun that looked like an AK-47. Some alien invasion. The aliens can destroy the planet. They can enslave all the creatures on the planet. They can blow up the entire galaxy, killing every life form. That's all good, because that's fine. But there was an AK-47. There was a big thing. It was a big scandal. How can you show this? How can you show this? It's a gun. Okay. It's almost comical. I mean, honestly, it's just comical. Right. So anyway, so the criminals back then. So the guy comes, he says, "Promise me you have no more money." Now, you have more money, but you know this law. The law is that if an anas forces you to make a shebu'ah, and you make a shebu'ah, it doesn't count. You understand? לפיכך נשבעים לחרמים ולהוררים ולמוכסים. And that's why if a person comes, for example, from the back then the tax authorities, it was all criminal. It was all criminal organizations, right? Or haramim are people who they would meet you on the roads, pirates, and they would take away what you have. Or horegim is just murderers. Mochesin is tax authorities, right? They used to pay money to people, but the way it worked is, like, you would be paying money to the king to be the tax collector, and then you would keep a certain portion for yourself, and then...
Like the mafia.
Like the mafia. Yeah, the mafia, yes.
You gotta kick up, and you do whatever you want to everyone else, and you go as long as you kick up to the boss, you're okay.
Interesting. Okay, Mochesin. Right. So that's a law of Nishba. So if a person makes a Shebu'ah under duress, the Shebu'ah doesn't count. I think it's such an important law because there's a midrash in Masechet Shabbat. Kafal Alim HaKigigit, right? The famous derasha, Vayamdu B'tachti Tahar, right? Is Daf Pechet, right? Daf Pechet in Masechet Shabbat. Daf Pechet Amud Aleph. So there's a famous, the Gemara there, where the Jewish people, Vayamdu B'tachti Tahar, and they said that God took Har Sinai and he put it above them like a Kigit, and then everybody says the Jewish people were Anusim. And, God forced them to enter into the Berit. The problem is that the Berit was based on a Shebu'ah, right? And if it was a Shebu'at honest, then the Berit doesn't exist, right? It's just incorrect. Meaning, if you're going to take that midrash and say that Kafal Ha'Kigi means that they were unseen, then their entering into the Berit is of no legal effect, because if you make a Shebu'ah be honest, the Shebu'ah is not a Shebu'ah, right? So we learn it from this halakha.
Any other one that you do be honest, except for the three cardinal sins, is in the
Right, exactly. But here you're kind of making the Shebu'ah. First of all, you're right, but it's not Ihalek Gal Yavon. Maybe the guy is gonna, beat you up. Maybe you're not afraid, and we don't distinguish. It's still considered honest, just the fact that he's going to be using force against you, and you can make the Shebu'ah, and it's not considered Shebu'at Sheker. Okay, press the red button again, Shalom, so we can start the next class. Take a 2-minute break between this class. So my father wrote about it in an article called Misbah Bereshiti. First of all, it's not a simple